Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. I am literally so excited to be with you today. If you're tuning in, you're probably gearing up to completely conquer your MAF201 exams. Well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, I want you to just imagine we're hanging out in a bright, colorful classroom. Picture a gorgeous Good Notes aesthetic on the board, pastel highlights, cute doodles, crystal clear notes, the whole shebang. I'll be your creative UITM lecturer today, and we are going to master one of the most notoriously tricky topics in process costing, closing work in progress, or CWIP for short. So take a deep breath, get those digital highlighters ready, and let's make this fun.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a pretty simple question. I want you to picture a bakery. Let's say you just baked 5,000 perfect, beautiful, fully frosted cupcakes. But sitting right next to them on the counter, you have 2,000 cups of raw, half-mixed cake batter. If I were to ask you, hey, how many completed cupcakes do you have? Would you add the 5,000 finished ones to the 2,000 raw ones and tell me you have 7,000 cupcakes?
No way, right? You absolutely cannot mix finished and unfinished items. And honestly, this right here is the biggest trap diploma students fall into when they first start learning process costing. You just can't add fully finished goods together with partially completed units. It doesn't make logical sense, and it definitely doesn't make mathematical sense.
So here's our game plan for today. 1. Intro to incomplete units. 2. The magic of equivalent units. 3. Calculating the unit cost. 4. The 4 process steps. And 5. Exam tips and a final summary. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Incomplete units. Let's set the scene for why this even happens in the real world.
I want you to visualize a massive factory production line, and it's running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Production is a continuous, non-stop activity. So when the accounting period finally ends, say right at midnight on the last day of the month, those machines don't magically empty themselves out, right? There will always be items stuck somewhere halfway down the conveyor belt. In that middle scenario, where outputs are fully and partly completed, that is exactly where closing work in progress, or CWIP, lives.
Let's define it formally. Work in progress, or WIP, refers to incomplete units where the percentage of completion across all elements of cost, meaning material, labor, and overhead, is not at 100%. Picture a little doodle of a car on an assembly line. It's got its engine and chassis, but no tires or doors yet. It's got some materials and some labor invested, sure, but it just isn't quite finished. Moving right along to Section 2, the magic of equivalent units. Because how on earth do we put a price tag on a half-finished car or a half-baked cupcake?
Well, we use something called equivalent units, or EQ. Think of this as our magical translation tool. Since we already established we can't add half-baked batter to finished cupcakes, we translate the half-finished items into an equivalent amount of fully finished items. It's literally the secret hack that makes the accounting math possible. Okay, grab your highlighters for this one. Here is the essential formula you need to know. Equivalent units equals the number of units in progress multiplied by the percentage degree of completion of that WIP. Think of it like a really simple recipe. You just take the raw number of units sitting on the conveyor belt and you multiply it by how far along they are in the process. Simple, right?
Let's actually put this into practice with a real example. Imagine a scenario where 5,000 units were started and totally completed during a period. Those are our finished goods, but 2,000 units were only partly completed, and let's say they are 60% complete. Remember our golden rule? We cannot just add 5,000 and 2,000. So here's my challenge to you. Apply our magic formula to those 2,000 CWIP units. What do you get?
You get 1,200. Boom! We take the 2,000 WIP units, multiply them by 60%, and we have exactly 1,200 equivalent units. What this actually means in plain English is that the cost and effort it took to build those 2,000 units up to the 60% mark is exactly the same as the cost and effort it would take to build 1,200 fully finished, 100% complete units. And now we can actually do our math.
All right, Section 3, calculating the unit cost. Now that we have everything translated into the exact same language, let's look at the financial side of things.
Here's another formula to highlight in bright pink. Costs per equivalent unit equals the total input cost divided by the total equivalent units. It's wonderfully logical when you think about it. You just take all the money the factory spent on materials, labor, and overhead and divide it by the total number of equivalent units we just figured out.
Section 4, the 4 process steps. This is absolutely the core of the explainer, where we turn all this theory into a rock-solid action plan for your exams.
Listen, when you see a CWIP question on your MAF201 exam, do not panic. Just follow these 4 chronological steps. Step 1, prepare the statement of equivalent units.
Step 2, prepare the statement of cost. Step 3, prepare the statement of evaluation. And Step 4, prepare the final process account. Let's actually walk through what this looks like when you're evaluating those costs.
So, zooming in on Step 3, the statement of evaluation, let's walk through this carefully together. First up, our finished goods. 3,000 fully finished units multiplied by our unit cost of 3 ringgit and 37.5 sen gives us Rm $10,125. Easy enough. Now for the CWIP. We evaluate this by material, labor, and overhead. Let's say materials were 100% complete, so the full 400 units times $2 is $800. But wait, labor and overhead were only 50% complete. This is where we use our equivalent units. 50% of 400 is 200. Multiply those 200 equivalent units by their costs, giving us $100 and $175. Add up all your CWIP for a total of $1,075, add that to your finished goods, and we hit a grand total of $11,200.
Which brings us to Step 4, the grand finale, the process account. This is where you get to check your work and feel that amazing, unbeatable sense of satisfaction when it perfectly balances. On the left, the input side, we list the costs incurred. Material at Rm 6,800, labor at Rm 1,600, and overhead at Rm 2,800. Total input is $11,200. On the right, the output side, we literally just plug in the numbers we calculated a second ago. Finished goods at Rm 10,125 and CWIP at Rm 1,075. Total output, exactly $11,200. Both sides balance perfectly. You've successfully accounted for every single ringgit and every single unit, whether it was finished or not.
Finally, Section 5, Exam Tips and Final Summary. Let's shift into high-energy review mode to really lock these concepts into your brain before test day.
Okay, rapid-fire golden rules. Listen up. First, finished goods are always 100% complete across all elements, period. Second, your SIP percentage will always be provided in the exam question, but read it super carefully because material completion might be totally different from labor. Third, never, ever add finished goods and SIP units directly together. Just don't do it. And fourth, always convert your WIP into equivalent units first before you even think about doing unit cost calculations. Avoid these classic student mistakes and you are going to be miles ahead.
And honestly, there you have it. We took a super complex topic and broke it down into simple, manageable pieces. Just remember the cupcake analogy, remember your magic translation formula for equivalent units, and trust those 4 process steps. You are totally ready to ace Math 201. Keep practicing your tables, and whatever you do, don't panic when you see CWIP on the exam paper. But before we wrap up today, I want you to think a little bigger. If equivalent units allow us to price half-finished goods in one factory, how might this exact math impact the millions of dollars tied up in massive global supply chains right now? Until you solve that puzzle, happy studying, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.